What does the month of Cheshvan, or Mar Cheshvan as we know it, have to do, connection, directly, indirectly, with the whole concept of Moshiach, redemption, the coming of Moshiach, the Gula, the Beis HaMikdash? So while you think about it, join me with the recital of chapter 100 of Tehillim. For thank you to Hashem for the miracles, and thank you for the miracles you're going to do, protecting our soldiers, protecting our hostages, bringing them back home, and for all of us to come home, which is in Yerushalayim with Moshiach at the Beis HaMikdash. So here we go. And while we're at it, join me also in giving some tzedakah, as we do every day. The more tzedakah, the more blessings. So my question was, the month of Cheshvan, is it? And what is the connection to Moshiach? Friends, you'll be shocked to see to what extent, just even in the name to start off with. Actually, it has two names. It's called Cheshvan and Mar Cheshvan. The names of the months actually are not biblical. They came back from when we went to the first exile. And we came back from Babel. They came back with names of the months. The name for the first month of the year, in other words, meaning after the month of Tishri, is called Cheshvan. But it's also called Mar Cheshvan. Mar, which means bitter. Common explanation is why is it called bitter? Because, there's a kind of a letdown. We're just coming from Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchas Torah, a month packed with celebrations, with festivities, with Yom Tovs, and now suddenly, blah. Besides the fact it's getting cold, at least in this part of the world. It becomes like a bitter feeling. So that's why it's called Mar Cheshvan. But there is also another reason. What is it that we need to do now? So as the saying of the previous Rebbe is, Oispacken die Peklach. During the month of Tishri, we have filled our luggages with all kinds of inspiration, and now comes the time to unpack and put everything in its proper place. The feeling of Rosh Hashanah, the feeling of Yom Kippur, the celebration of Sukkot, Simchas Torah, Chol HaMoed, all these things have to be well positioned in our daily lifestyle. To do what? Now that we're into the mundane, we're into the weekdays. And as I always like to say, there's two ways of spelling weekday. W-E-E-K, day, or W-E-A-K, weak. In other words, to transform this weakness into strength. How? By allowing the energies, the inspirations, the godly flow that we have received during the month of Tishri, and this inspire us to transform the weekday into strong days. Weakness represents exile, to transform the mundane, the exile, the darkness, the gloominess into happiness of Moshiach, Mar Cheshvan. So the bitterness is of the exile, our task to transform. Yesterday we spoke about the Mabul, the month of Bull. It's the month where Beis HaMikdash, God promised the month of Cheshvan that this is the month that's going to be rebuilt. But there's a number of other things. It's the yahrzeit of our Mama Rochel, as we say. On the 11th day of the month is Rochel's yahrzeit. And we know that Yaakov Avinu says, I buried Rachel on the side of the road so that when the Jewish people will go in exile, the first exile from Israel, go to Babylon, to Bavel, they will pass in front of the cave of Rachel in Beis Lechem, which was literally on the road. Today it's built a whole fortress. But I remember 1969 was just literally a little house on the side of the road. And there they stopped to pray and asking Rachel to intercede for Hashem. And Rachel interceded with God and said, God, save my children. And God told her, the Rebbe Rashab's Yom Holed's date of birth is on the 20th day of the month of Cheshvan. The 20th day of the month of Cheshvan is the Rebbe Rashab's birthday. Rebbe Rashab, the father of the previous Rebbe, Reb Sholem Dovber, besides known as called the Rambam of Chassidus, elucidating the concept of Chassidus in the most clearest way that I ever had before, but he's known for having established a revolutionary yeshiva. The Chabad, what's called yeshivas Tomchei Temimim, what is today all the Lubavitch yeshivas around the world. And he said then, what is the purpose of a new yeshiva? There's plenty of yeshivas. There was so many yeshiva schools of learning Torah back in Russia. There was big, huge yeshivas with hundreds of talmidim, thousands of students, great scholars. Why do we need a new yeshiva? And he said, because there's a verse in Tehillim that says, Asher cheir v'oivecha Hashem, in chapter 89. King David says, Asher cheir v'oivecha Hashem, Asher cheir v'ikvas mishachecha. Against those who mark the belief in godliness, and those to battle against those who mark the belief in Moshiach. Said the Rebbe Rashab, I'm establishing this yeshiva for that purpose, that these students will fight those who mark godliness, the communists at that time, and those who unfortunately mark the coming of Moshiach. And we see today, it is those students, those Timimim, those yeshiva bacham from the Chabad yeshivas that are on the forefront of keeping Judaism alive, keeping faith in God alive, and keeping the faith of Moshiach alive.